Hey folks, and how are you all doing today? Now, welcome to this very special episode of The Grow Show. This is episode 100. We have done 100 episodes of The Grow Show where we've interviewed loads of different people from all different types of businesses and communities. And you know what? For this special episode, we've gone back to the second person I ever interviewed for a podcast. Now, if you can picture this, we were sitting in Binswood Hall, which is a retirement village in Leamington. 5-star retirement village, by the way. And literally, me and Neil sat down in front of a fireplace, looks very fancy, with a phone going like that. And we were doing an interview from there. That was 6 years ago. And now we're on Zoom. And may I introduce you, Neil Porter from Capture Life. Now, is that correct, Neil? Capture Life?
That is indeed correct.
Boom.
I can't believe it was 6 years ago. I don't know quite where that time has gone, but
crazy. I've got a few more grey hairs. Not on my head, but on my beard.
Same as there's nothing up there. But, yeah.
It's all gone years ago. But Neil Porter, welcome to the Grow Show. How are you doing, buddy? How are you getting on?
I'm very well. It's quite a privilege to be back on, and especially episode 100. It feels very special. So very, very fortuitous there. But yeah, I'm doing really well. Really well.
Good.
Been an interesting few years, of course, for all of us. But no, things are going very well.
Good. So for the people who don't know you, who is Neil Porter and what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
So I am a photographer, and as we were talking off air beforehand, that seems to cover an awful lot of things. But my prime passion about photography, and I will drag this up from here in case it will help you understand, is prints. So I take photos of a very wide variety of subjects, from landscapes to flowers and abstract things, and my main thing that people seem to know me for, which I do enjoy, is cityscapes, particularly at night. So all the colours of a city, all the lights and the energy, I like to capture that in my camera and share it, and it's that kind of thing. So I have a whole gallery online with all these available that people can buy in little prints, or it sounds like I'm at a rave, little print, big print. So they can buy them in all sorts of formats, put them on a fireplace, put them on a wall, whatever. But that's what I'm really passionate about. I love going out and capturing something new, something eye-catching that will just make someone stop. So that we all know how much we scroll up and down social media. Yep. And I love it when people say to me, if you at a networking event, or they might message me and they say, "Oh, your pictures always brighten up my feed. It makes my day." So they'd be scrolling through, and then suddenly there's just this, because I'm quite a bright, vivid, colourful person, but everyone's got different styles of photography. And that seems to be mine. So it's just very eye-catching, and that's what it's all about. People will stop and go, there's one of Neil's, stops them in their tracks. So that's my main thing that people would hopefully know me for.
Nice. That's quite a cool thing to kind of be able to have that kind of signature piece or signature look, and people to kind of stop and go, I know who that is. That's a special talent to have.
That's it. It's very it's flattering, I suppose, isn't it? It's you work hard to become recognised.
Yeah.
And a lady, Chris, who runs the Amethyst Centre in Coventry, you know her very well. Yeah. She's got a few of my prints up in her treatment centre, and apparently, I can't remember when this was, but somebody went in there and went, "Oh, how do you know Neil?" or something, words to that effect, because they recognised my image, and that's brilliant, isn't it? You think, well, that's great. So I've got the images out there, and my style is recognised, and the pictures that I've captured are recognised to the point that someone walks in somewhere else and sees my work and knows it's mine immediately, which is really, you get quite a buzz out of that, because you're making the impact that you want to make.
Yeah. And did it take you years to kind of hone in that style, or did it come quite naturally?
I think I've always been drawn to colour and energy and things that are vibrant, just generally. I do have images that are black and white, and there are subtle, but most of my images are quite bold, and they're really prominent, and they'll really catch your eye, because that's what I like. I enjoy bright, colourful things, and it's cheerful and it's happy. So the images I share tend to be of a similar ilk. And obviously I've honed that over the years, because you're always improving. So you're always learning little tricks or techniques, or a slightly different style of editing, or something new appears in the software that you use to edit the pictures. So there's always that element that you pick up something new. But overall, I'd say I've always had that underlying element of your images are bold. They're really bold and in your face and things like that. So yeah, always been there.
Nice. And now, for a lot of people, photography is one of those things that they, as you've already mentioned, it's such a broad spectrum. There's so many different types of photography out there. From, if I'm just going to butcher a few, from weddings to events to products to housing to art. There's so many different types of photography out there. How did you get into it all? Did you kind of go into it thinking you were going to do one thing and move away, or
yes, sort of. So as you mentioned at the beginning, we sat and had a conversation 6 years ago where I started at my first attempt at a photography business, and that was mainly trying to capture, it was people's headshots for social media profiles, or maybe events, or like you do when you start a business, you try and do all things to all people, and didn't do any one thing particularly well, if I'm honest. When you look back and you've learned from where you've had mistakes and things have gone wrong. So lasted maybe about 3 years, and then the work was just so intermittent and up and down. And I was also doing some property photography in the background, which I'm also doing now, which is domestic houses. You go and photograph them, virtual tours, and they go online to be sold. So that's what I do in the background. I don't advertise it because I don't need to. I just have a steady stream of work come in from an agent, and I go out and do it. So that allows me the freedom to go and do the bit that I love. I mean, I love all photography. It's what I'm meant to be doing in this world. But when I'm out and I'm capturing cities and things, it's that freedom of expression and all that. So the property thing is it's my bread and butter. It pays the bills and it keeps me afloat, but it gives me the freedom to go and do the other things that I love doing, the fun things, if you like. So I was doing that, and then there was issues with one of the estate agents left, and so the work dropped down. And I ended up back in IT because it's what I'd done for 15 odd years. So you fall back on it, managed a few more years of it, and then trying to think when the pandemic was 2 years ago, wasn't it? It sort of started. Yeah, it was actually almost exactly 2 years ago, wasn't it, when Boris rocked up on the telly and said UK shut or something. So I'd left an IT job and I was about to start another IT job right as that was happening. Because I mean, who knows? It was exactly. Unprecedented, wasn't it? So no one could have forecast that happening.
No.
So the job I was going to start, obviously, it was a small business, so there was uncertainty, and they just said, "Oh, we'll put it on hold." Yeah, no problem. So 4 weeks went by, 8 weeks went by, and the more every week that went by, the more I realised actually I absolutely have had it with IT. I've done it for too long. I didn't love the industry. I've worked with some fantastic people, but it just wasn't what really ignited my fire, if you like. So I thought, well, I'm doing myself a disservice if I go back. So I decided to rebrand, because obviously I'd had some exposure of my previous business, which I won't mention the name of it now because I hate it. When you look back again, you learn, don't you, that you try and do things a certain way and it's rubbish.
I think
so. I asked a load of people.
I think the name was it was okay, but I think Captured Life is better.
Yeah, and I asked a load of people. I've got some ideas for a name and a tagline, and just thought I'd just get some input from all the people that I'd built connections with over the years, and it was great. So you got all these valuable insights, and I've got the name, I've got the tagline, I've got a more powerful brand color. It's purple, so it's really bold again. It's quite prominent, and it all works much better. Much better. The whole image of it is much better, and it sticks in people's minds a bit more. but I've lost slight track of where I was talking, what we were on about at the beginning. See, I'm right.
It's all about your business journey and all about how you kind of got to where you are now. So yeah, you changed your name, you went rebrand. For me, when I look at kind of your new brand compared to your old brand, it's just like anything. It's like night and day, but you only see the kind of night after you've seen the difference that the new brand can make. It's so powerful, so powerful. It is. Now, when it comes to kind of photography, everyone seems to kind of, is it hard? How hard is it to get into actual proper full-time kind of photography? Because with smartphones and people kind of being able to take a photo anywhere with just 2 clicks or a swipe on one of these, there's a big difference between what you do.
Incredibly difficult.
How difficult is it to break into it?
Well, like you've just pointed out, and those devices are only getting better and better.
They are.
Yep. Every year. And let's be totally honest, you take a photo on them and the quality to share on social media or on a website is perfectly good enough. There's no point denying it. It's perfectly good enough. But I think the difference is if you are a good photographer, and as we mentioned before, I know lots of very, very good photographers around this area. The difference of what you'll get in a photo for someone, whether it's just a headshot or you're doing a whole branding shoot where you're trying to capture a little bit more beyond just their face, and it's about their message and that the person and what they convey, and it's more than just capturing the image, because obviously all us photographers have got very expensive cameras, and as good as iPhones are, they don't take images to the quality of a thousands of pounds of SLR. They just don't. So, but it's not just the camera, it's the person. And this is why it's important, if you find a photographer, you've got to find somebody that you're comfortable with, because it's the person and the rapport and that capability of making somebody just feel relaxed enough that their personality comes out in the photos. Because you can see immediately, there's a dog just walking over there, little photo one, very cute. And yeah, so you can see immediately in photos where people are relaxed.
Yeah,
it's like sticks out like a sore thumb to me when you look at someone's photo and they're relaxed and it's really, the image is fantastic, as opposed to maybe a selfie or even someone taking your photo on a phone, and it's just not quite the same. So yes, all right, the quality is okay, and it's more than it's good enough, but it's not the optimum you could have. So for it's not the answer. Some people, especially if you're a small business and you're starting out, it's something that you can cut corners on, isn't it? Because if you're like, I'm going to spend a few £100 on a photographer, but you just got to be realistic, and you've got limited budget, you've got limited income, and you've got to do what you can do. So maybe a headshot on a phone is enough to start with. But as soon as you start earning and getting a living, or if you've got the money to do it in the first place, don't cut corners. Let's get a photographer in, get those really powerful images, because it's the what's that, say 6 or 7 seconds on socials. You've got such a limited window to stop somebody scrolling and catch their attention. And if your image is just like every other image out there that's someone's headshot on a phone, or it's just not going to work, is it? So yeah, it is hard to get into photography. I mean, if you're going to try it, just all I say is pick up a camera and practice and practice and practice on your friends and your family. Go and book yourself in. You can book studios where you can hire. People will come in. Just practice, and hone your image and your style. Give yourself 6 months, a year, make it so, and then get feedback. Join. So I'm in Society of Photographers. There's a couple of national groups, and these groups have world leading photographers as judges in panels and things, but they've got mentoring groups. So you can take a series of 10 portraiture images, you can send them off, and these guys will all critique you, but in a very, very helpful way. You know, they're not slating you. They will point out what, you know, if the composition isn't right or the lighting or other things you should consider, and that will improve you no end. I mean, I've done that with my nature, my wildlife photography. I've took an image and I thought, oh, this is brilliant, and you send it off, and then you get this feedback, and you're like, wow, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah.
But these guys are, like I say, they are ambassadors for main brands of camera. You know, they're at the very top of the career, if you like, and they spot all these things, and you go, wow, that's fantastic. Because now I can take my images up to another level. You know, you're always learning. It's very arrogant to think that you're the best there ever is. It's ridiculous. So if you just accept it, there's always people who know better than you, or they'll look at things differently and learn from them. Get registered, send your work in, just keep improving and improving. And then if you start your photography journey, you're not starting from scratch and learning whilst you're there. That's probably the thing I just said, looking back at my first time round.
Yeah.
I should have spent longer following my own advice that I've just given. And yeah, but you didn't know that at the time, and no one told me, no one shared it with me. It's very competitive, so you've got to really make yourself stand out, haven't you? With the images you've taken, someone might be looking for a photographer, and they find 3 online, and if the images you're sharing in your gallery aren't really, really good, you're not going to win the work, are you? You're not going to get that person to commit to investing their time and their money with you to portray their business and things. So it's very important, I think, that put some groundwork in. Don't just wing it and go, because I think it'll hurt you in the long run, because you'd have had a year of images that could have been better, by which point the damage is done. People have seen these images, they'll never use you, they've moved on. And it's very harmful, I'd say, if you're trying to break in.
Yeah, no, golden advice all the way through that. And I watched a YouTube video probably a couple of weeks ago now about videographers, and basically they had a beginner with all the expensive kit, so all the studio equipment, all the lighting, all the stuff you could think of. Then you had a professional videographer with a 1.5 grand, DSLR basically, and a couple of kind of mics that they kind of hooked up, but not the expensive kit. And it was the skill, and they filmed exactly the same kind of content, had different direction, because obviously they produced it in different ways, but you could tell a massive difference, and it all went down to the skill level of the person doing it. Even down to the direction of how they were asking the person in the video to actually kind of act and shoot, act and kind of work their body in the shot, to the way they framed it, to the way they kind of placed different bits. They just managed to get the most out of it, out of the equipment, rather than the beginner, who did a fantastic video and a fantastic job, because it was ranked by someone else, kind of a third party, but did a fantastic job, but it just didn't have the skills available to them to be able to kind of make it work as well.
Yeah, it's just it lacks that polish, doesn't it? It just doesn't quite have the same polish. And but it's hard. I know. I mean, at some point you've got to do it, and some people, they might not have an option, that they might have no job, and I've got to buy a camera, and I've just got to do it. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to do that, even then, as soon as you commit to it, immediately just do these things. Just get critiqued, however you can. Just do we were talking about exhibitions and things before this. Print some of your work out and have exhibitions and see what people's reactions are. Strangers, just genuine reactions to your print. You know, where they're really interested, or the little glance and they walk past and you go, well, it's not making an impact. Why might that be? Ask for some feedback. Even if you just pretend it's not you, or get a friend to go, help you just going round who's not the photographer. Well, what do you think about that? Because they might not want to relay that to you because it's your work and they don't want to offend you or upset you. People are funny like that, aren't they? But bring a friend along and say, look, I'll be over here. I've got photographer written all over my t-shirt. I'll get you a cup of coffee. Just go out and talk to people about it and ask them what they think. Let me know. There's ways and means of testing the quality of your work, always, and always do it. Always find out off people somehow and improve. You can always improve, and then you'll stand yourself in good stead. I think there's one thing I definitely would, whilst we're on this topic, and I was guilty of this myself, and I see other people do it, and possibly not just in photography, but in other areas. When you're starting out, when I started out all the way back 6 years ago, whenever it was, you don't have any images to put on your website, so you need to build a portfolio, don't you? And maybe it's the same with other areas in design or creative industries, that you don't have this. So you've got to do some work for people and think, right, well, okay, I need to build up this, and you offer to do it for free. And now when I look back, and I think that was one of my single biggest mistakes, is that for whoever it was, even if I didn't want to take the money myself, but said, I'll shoot your business, but I want you to make a donation to charity for the work I'm doing, because I'm building up a portfolio, but I place some value on my time and my skills still, that I want you to pay £100 to this charity for this work, just so everyone you deal with understands that you do have a value. And every time I see people do it now, I do message people and say, don't, because I realise what you do to the industry that you love by doing this. If there's a constant stream of photographers at the beginning of their careers giving out work for free, and that's the same for lots of like other industries,
yep,
it undermines the industry as a whole, doesn't it? And therefore, when they've moved 2 or 3 or 4 years on, they're also struggling and competing against other photographers coming in, doing the work for free or for exposure. It's the biggest load of nonsense I've ever seen, because they don't take exposure in supermarkets. I've tried. It doesn't work. No, exposure, hugs, it doesn't buy you a week's worth of shopping. You need money. So don't ever give anything away for free, or even if it's just having the value of a charitable donation or an exchange of services, which I've done a couple of times. I'll do some photos, but I'd like you to design me a business card and print them for me. Just do something, have some value in yourself, and don't undermine the entire industry that you're trying to get into, because it will bite you in the bum later on, won't it?
I could not agree with that. That's golden advice, because you're talking to someone who at the start of his social media journey did exactly that. And I'm just going to take your point even further and say, actually, it does make a detriment to your mindset and your business as well going forward, because you don't value yourself in terms of the products and services that you offer. So when it comes to pricing later on, and I can talk only from personal experience, it's taken me years to actually figure out my actual worth, where actually it shouldn't have done. It shouldn't have done. And if I just heard that advice by saying, I'm quite happy to do it for free, but please donate this amount to charity, in my mind, I would have started to associate that amount of work with that price. Such golden advice.
Yeah,
such golden advice.
Absolutely. And exactly that point as well. It's not just your industry, it's you, it's your own self-worth. I've seen so many people write on social media channels about how do I price this? How do I value myself? How do I this? And it's that mindset, getting out of that mindset of I am good enough, because and also this comes back to what we were talking about before. If you put the work in and you've got the capability of taking photos good enough that you feel someone would use on their website, yep, then you're good enough to charge someone money to do that, aren't you? And or design, if you're a logo and a graphic designer, if you're good enough that someone will then use that logo as their business and their brand, you're good enough to charge them.
Yep.
So if you're not good enough, you shouldn't be doing the work. And if you are good enough, then you should be charging for the work. And it's only by people like us doing that it will stop happening, because unfortunately there's always people who will chance it because people do it. I still get people occasionally, can you do this event for me, or could you help me with this? Yeah, I can. It's cost you that. Oh, but we'll put your name and we'll share you across all the channels and we'll expose this or for that. not interested. I'm absolutely not interested. None of that works. You put my name across regardless because it's my photo. So even if you pay me, you can still say who's took it and all this. But anyway, absolutely not. I'm not doing anything for free. And the more people dig in and go, no, I've got a value and I'm good at what I do and I'm proud of my work. And no, I will not go and do 2 or 3 hours at your venue. Or what we've seen, I mean, I don't do wedding photography. I've seen people with a similar thing. I'm looking for a wedding photographer for 15 hours. My budget's £200. What on earth? But people go and do it because I'll do the work and they're working. You might as well go and work in a supermarket because you'd earn more. You won't do a 12-hour shift in a supermarket. You'd earn more money. You're well below minimum wage because then they've got to come back and edit the images, which takes 2 or 3 days. Do 4 days work for £200 or £300, and that they're not helping themselves. They're actually hurting everybody. So if you're listening to this now and you're starting out, stop it. There you go. Do yourself and everyone a favour. Charge for what you're worth because you are worth something because you're doing the work. There you go.
Honestly, if you want more info about the business journeys that me and Neil have done, get in touch with us and we'll have a chat with you separately. It's one of those that until you've kind of been through it and you've kind of lived it and you've looking back. And this is the great thing about these podcasts is you look back at different parts of your life and kind of it's all retrospective. But until you've done that, you can't figure it out. You can't see it. So during that time, you think, actually, yeah, this is okay. But looking back on it, I'd urge you just to take a step back and think about your worth, your value. And as Neil said, what's happening to your industry? Wow, that's a big topic we covered.
It was a big topic, actually, yeah. And I had that just as a note to talk about, but that was a very, very big topic, and I'm glad we covered it.
No, it was good. So what's next for you, Neil? Because I think we've been talking for about 25 minutes, half hour or so.
Wow, so, okay, right. We're going to start wrapping up, aren't we?
What's next?
There's a couple of things, I suppose. Yeah. My main, my big news at the moment is that I say recently, but it's a little while ago, but it was recently announced that the government and Heathrow Airport and the Royal Photographic Society ran a great exposure competition about raising the profile of Britain, both here and abroad, about the culture and the people and society and the warmth and all of this. And there was 5 categories in this competition. I can't remember the other 4 because I don't think I entered anything in there, so I'm not bothered. But the one that I put an image in was called Downtime Joy. So it's showing how the people of Britain enjoy their downtime. What do they do in their downtime and things like this? So the image I put in was of the, and I wish I had a print of it here, but I don't, was the Colour Run, which I don't know if you don't know the event, it's based on the Holi festival in India. Yep. A load of runners, they go around a 5K course, and at every kilometre station, there's a coloured powder. So maybe it's yellow, then it's purple, then it's green. And they just throw all these powders as they're running through, and they get covered in all this coloured. And then at the very end, there's everyone amasses in the pool. There's a DJ and whatever, and they all then open all the coloured powders and they throw them all in the sky simultaneously. Can you imagine the just as an explosion of colour? It's absolutely incredible. And it was that image that I took at the NEC quite a few years ago. And I thought that is a perfect example of just everybody lost in that moment. The music was thumping, everyone was jumping around, they're dancing, they're having great fun. And it's just every colour under the sun. Blues, yellows, pinks, purples, greens, everything it flew up in the air. And because it was a red hot summer's day and there was no breeze, it's almost like the dust just hung while I took the photo. So it was absolutely, when we talked about vibrancy and bold and everything, this is the perfect example of it. And that image was one of a set of winning pictures in that Downtime Joy category. So I announced it beginning of this month, was when it went up in Heathrow. So if you are traveling through any of the 5 terminals in Heathrow, keep an eye out for it. It's on the 48-sheet massive billboard, so I'm assured that you can't miss it. I don't know exactly where in the lounges they are, but I've been told it's in the big gallery area. By all means, do a selfie and tag me in on any social channels if you do go through the airport and you find it. That would make my day, because otherwise I'm going to need to book a flight somewhere and go and have a look for myself, aren't I? You want to get airside. So that's my big exciting news. And the Great Exposure team are promoting it across all their socials, and they're doing PR releases on it and things like that. And obviously, Heathrow Airport, I heard on the radio the other day, are expecting 50-ish million people to pass through it this year. So even if a fraction of those people see my work, maybe find me online. I've now changed all my social channels so that my header image is, of course, the colour run, and it mentions a Great Exposure. So if people look me up, Neil Porter, and I think it's because it was in Birmingham, it says Birmingham rather than where I am from in Coventry, but they'll know it's me, and then they can get in touch. That, if they want to buy a copy of the print, that's easily done on my website. But that was a real big news when you get an email from the PA to the secretary to the Prime Minister's office. It's like, this is major. As a photographer, this is a fantastic award and recognition to get. So that was very exciting.
Brilliant. I love that news. And when I heard about it, it was just music to my ears, because I think that's a culmination of, for me anyway, that's a culmination of all of what we've said during this interview, but also your journey as well. The way that you even said when you were talking about it, it just hung in the air. That for me means that you had to be in the right place at the right time with the right skill level to be able to see that, to then be able to do that, to get that shot.
Yeah, so it's that vision, isn't it?
Yeah,
everyone could turn up at that event, but I suppose that's when you talk about that next level, is recognizing where do I need to be, and who's facing which way, because I didn't want many faces in there. So it's just spotting the opportunities, isn't it, to position yourself in a place where you'll get that photo. And yeah, the photo itself has gone in a couple of competitions on various sites, and it's been finalist in a couple, and it's had a lot of recognition from places. And I always knew it was a very good image. I was really proud of it. So it was fantastic. And I don't enter many competitions like this, and I saw it last November in my Facebook feed, and I just thought that's good. I'm going to have a go at that one. And then an email arrived, and I sort of read it, and I read it again. I'm like, oh wow, okay, this is it's actually there. It's in Heathrow Airport. So that was just really, really fantastic news, and something that hopefully will carry through the rest of the year. And I'm also looking at exhibiting at some point in the LTB Lytton Tree showrooms in Coventry that Alan Denyer runs. So hopefully do a little exhibition around colour and how it can bring joy and cheer to many. So hopefully keep an eye out for that later in the year.
Love it.
And yeah, I think that's probably about the best thing to finish on, is it really? I think
before we do, I know, and all of those links and stuff I'm going to put into the description, so you'll be able to go straight to Neil's website. Just wherever you're listening or you're watching, just check out the description of this podcast and video and have a look at it. If you haven't already, check it out. Please check it out. But Neil, before you go, I've got to ask you two things. First of all, what is your final thought that you want to leave the show with? We spoke about this beforehand, and I think there's still time for you just to kind of say it out, if you don't mind, and then we'll finish it off with how people get in contact with you and find out more.
Yeah, so the last thing I'd say, and my daughters are teenagers now, so I've done this for years. So many of us don't we? We walk around, we're talking about taking photos, and we all take lots and lots of photos of everything, our kids, our time we spend with people we love, holidays and things, and they just live on these phones, don't they? Thousands and thousands and thousands. Print them out. Go through if you go to a week away, or you take the kids to the zoo or whatever, when you get back the next weekend, go down to a photo printing shop, take 20 or 30, print them out, 6x4 or 5x7, put them in an album or put them in a photo frame thing on your wall and enjoy them. Why on earth are we take so many photos and people don't enjoy them? And when they're printed out, which is why I love canvas prints and frame and all this, when they're printed out, they look so much better. The amount of joy I've had sat with my two girls, and I haven't printed, so I'll take my own advice here and I will get some done this weekend because there's a whole batch that I've yet to do. So I've got a new photo album ready. We're going to print loads of them out, and they love to look through actual physical photos because to them, everything's digital, isn't it? I mean, you and I, Gary, we grew up with the photos, with the quality, you know, when they used to come back, you wait 3 weeks for a set of pictures to come back, and then you have stickers all over them because they were rubbish. You know, we're used to it. But youngsters nowadays absolutely love to see printed photos because it's just unusual to them, and the quality is so much better than on your phone, and it's just more personal. It feels more emotive. It feels like it's something special. You know, a picture on a phone screen is all well and good, but it's not got any magic to it. I don't think it's not special. So get yourself a few photo albums, take your kids down to a photo booth, or take your mate, whoever is there. If you've been on a stag do, whatever, take them down, have a laugh about your stag do, whatever it is. Print the pictures out and enjoy them in, you know, in the real world instead of a digital one, because I think you'll notice a difference.
Love it. So Neil, if people want to find more info about you, check out your website and check out your socials. Where do you hang out online?
Right, so my website is allthews.capturelife.uk, and then I've been very consistent, so I'm pretty much at Capture Life UK on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. All 4 channels. I'm very fortunate that I've managed to get the same handle across all 4. And there's links on my website as well that will just take you straight over to them. And as you can imagine, there's slightly different content on each platform. So Instagram is full of images because that's what it's there for. LinkedIn is a bit more varied, and my Facebook page, there's more words along the images as well. But yeah, pop along. I'm not very active on Twitter. I'll hold my hand up because you can't do everything all the time. So that tends to be at the bottom of the pile, but I am on there if you wanted to contact me on Twitter. But Instagram there's loads and loads, so you'll see lots of content there. And I also have quite a fan of cars and automotive images, so I do have a second Instagram page that's linked from my main one if you like to look at cars, especially American classics, which is a real favourite of mine. So yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Lovely job. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We've left it too long. Can't leave it again that long.
No, it's not 98 episodes in a couple of years.
No, that's just not on. But everyone watching, everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us today. You've been listening and we're all watching the Grow Show, and this has been episode 100. So hope you've enjoyed the journey. This is just the start, and remember, just like anything, once you've finished listening to this episode, make a few notes, get in contact with Neil, you know, and start looking back on your journey and start figuring out what you can do to make the most out of you, your business, and your community. And do you know what? If you like this video or podcast, don't forget to press that like button, follow us on the channel so you get regularly updated. But all I've got to say now is thank you very much. Neil, you legend. Absolutely thank you very much. Viewers, listeners, thank you so much. My name's Gary Jones. This has been The Grow Show for today. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.